Have you ever noticed that some of your worst fights are not really about the dishes or bedtime or who forgot to switch the laundry? They're about feeling alone. And here's what I strongly believe. Trying to just move on too quickly after a fight is one of the biggest mistakes overwhelmed parents make. Because when one person is still hurt and the other wants to go back to normal, what gets created is not repair. It's distance, it's resentment, it's passive aggressiveness. It's that cold, weird space where you're technically functioning as a family, but emotionally you're not together at all. I'm Catherine O'Brien. I'm a licensed marriage and family therapist in Sacramento, California, and I help couples and parents who love each other, but are also exhausted, stretched thin, and caught in this painful pattern after conflict. And if you're in the postpartum season, the early parenting years, or honestly just deep in the overwhelmed parenting years in general, fights can feel bigger, sharper, and harder to recover from because you're dealing with sleep deprivation, mental load, changing roles, less time together, and constant demands. So no, it's not always just that you're bad at communication. A lot of couples are trying to reconnect while running on empty. And that matters because if you do not know how to reconnect after a fight, even while some anger is still there, little conflicts start to turn into bigger stories. Stories like, I do everything, I don't matter here. My partner checks out, nothing ever changes. I can't bring things up without it going badly. And that is where relationships start to erode. And I see this all the time in my work. A couple gets into a fight at bedtime. One partner feels like they're doing everything, bath, pajamas, lunches, cleanup, school forms, all the invisible things that keep families moving. And the other partner feels like no matter what they do, it is never enough. And they feel corrected, criticized, or that they cannot get it right. So one person gets sharper, the other person starts shutting down. And on the surface, the fight is about chores, or it's about bedtime, or tone, or who does more. But underneath it, one partner is saying, I do not feel appreciated, and the other is saying, I feel like I cannot win. And both people are leaving feeling more alone. And that is why I want you to hear this. The fight is rarely just a fight. And this is personal for me too. See, I grew up with the message that anger was not okay, that anger was bad, toxic, a problem. So for a long time, I think a part of me believed that if anger showed up in a relationship, that meant something was wrong. But what I've learned, both personally and professionally, is that anger is often information. It's not always polished information. It may come out sideways at first, but underneath anger, there's often a need for support, a need for validation, a need to feel seen, a need for a partnership, a need for comfort, or even repair. So today I want to talk about how to reconnect after a fight, even if you're still mad, because you do not have to be fully over it to begin repairing, but you do need to know how to reconnect without abandoning yourself or punishing your partner. And if you stay until the end, I'll point you to my next video, how to calm down after a fight when you're still secretly mad, because calming down and reconnecting are related, but they're not the same thing. The first thing I want to say is this. Do not confuse reconnection with pretending everything is fine. This is one of the biggest mistakes I see. A lot of couples think repair means one of two things. Either we solve this right now, fully and completely, or we say, whatever, it's fine, and we go back into logistics mode. Neither one is real reconnection. Reconnection is not fake peace. It is not swallowing your feelings so the night can move on, and it's not acting normal when you still feel hurt. Real reconnection sounds more like this. We're not okay yet, but I don't want us turning against each other. This is very different. You can still be upset and choose not to escalate. You can still be hurt and choose not to ice someone out. And you can still need more conversation and also create a little emotional safety. That middle space matters, especially for parents, because life keeps moving. Kids still need things. The kitchen is still messy. The dog still needs to be fed. Tomorrow is still coming. And waiting until you feel zero anger before reconnecting is just not realistic for most couples. Second, learn the difference between taking space and emotionally leaving the relationship. Space can be healthy. Shutdown is different. Sometimes after a fight, you really do need a pause. Your nervous system is flooded. You are too activated to listen well or speak clearly, and that is real, and especially in the postpartum and parenting years. When people are already exhausted and overstimulated, that flooding happens fast. But here's where couples get into trouble. One person says they need space, and the other experiences that as abandonment, or one person goes quiet so they don't make it worse, but the silence itself becomes part of the injury. So if you need space, name it in a way that keeps connection intact. Say something like, I need a little more time, but I do want to come back to this. That lands very differently than stomping off, giving one-word answers, slamming cabinets, or disappearing into your phone for the rest of the night. Space says, I need a pause. Shutdown says, you are on your own. And that difference matters. Third, look underneath the content of the fight. This is where so many couples get stuck. They stay at the surface. Who did more? Who started it? Who had the tone? Who forgot? Who always has to ask? Who never notices? But underneath these fights are usually deeper emotional truths. I do not feel appreciated. I feel alone in this. I feel like I carry the invisible work. I feel criticized. I feel like nothing I do is enough. And I miss feeling like a team. And this is where my work is influenced by the Gottmans, influenced by Terry Real, Esther Perel, and also the real lived experience of parents who are just trying to survive hard seasons together. Because in overwhelmed families, the content of the fight often becomes a cover story for a deeper hurt. So instead of only asking, what were we fighting about? Also ask, what did this fight mean to each of us? That question can change everything. And fourth, go for a soft re-entry, not a perfect resolution. A lot of couples wait too long to reconnect because they think they need the perfect apology, the perfect words, the full breakthrough moment. You really don't. Often what you need is just a softer re-entry. Something like, can we start over? I don't like where this went. Or I'm still upset, but I don't want us to stay disconnected. That is repair, not because it solves everything in that second, but because it interrupts the pattern of distance. And that is huge because for a lot of couples, it's not one fight that creates disconnection. It's the buildup of many small moments where no one comes back toward the relationship. And fifth, do not rush the hurt partner just because tension makes you uncomfortable. This one is big. Sometimes one partner wants to fix it quickly, but not because they're deeply ready to repair. Sometimes they just hate the tension. They feel anxious. They want the mood to change. They want relief. And the hurt partner can usually feel that. They can feel when repair really means, can you be done now so I don't have to feel bad? And that makes people feel even more alone. And if your partner is still hurting, the goal is not to rush them out of it. The goal is to help them feel accompanied in it. And that might sound like, I get that you're still upset. I can see this landed hard. I'm not asking you to be over it, and I'm not asking you to be over it right away, or I want to understand what felt so painful here. That is validation, not agreement with every detail, not giving up your own perspective, just letting your partner know their pain is not being ignored or managed away. And honestly, for a lot of parents, that is what they are hungry for. Not instant fixing, present, and stop making anger the villain. This one matters a lot to me. If you believe anger means a relationship is bad or you're bad, then every conflict starts to feel dangerous. So you suppress it or explode with it or judge yourself for having it. But anger is often a signal. It might be telling you, I need help, I need acknowledgement, I need rest, I need partnership, I need to know you take me seriously, I need repair. And that does not mean every angry reaction is fair or skillful. But if you only focus on controlling anger without listening to what it is pointing to, you're gonna miss the deeper need. And in parenthood, especially, there's often so much built up pressure that anger is just the first emotion people notice. Underneath it, it might be grief, loneliness, fear, overwhelm, disappointment. So instead of only asking, how do I stop being angry? Try asking, what is my anger trying to tell me? And that gives you something much more useful to work with. And seventh, repair the pattern, not just the moment. This is where couples really grow. If your pattern is that one person gets critical and the other checks out, it's not enough to only patch up one fight. You have to start noticing the cycle itself. You might say, I think we got pulled into our usual pattern. I came in hot because I felt alone, and then you shut down because you felt attacked. Or it could be, I don't think this was just about bedtime. I think we both got activated in ways that felt familiar. That shift matters so much because now it's not me versus you, it's us versus the pattern. And that's where repair starts to feel a lot more possible. And eighth, use a realistic repair script. A lot of couples need actual words, not ideal words, usable words. And here are two I like because they're simple, honest, and not cheesy. The first one is, I need a little more time, but I do want to come back to this. Or you could say, can we start over? I don't like where this went. You don't need a perfect speech. You just need a bridge. Something that says, we're strained right now, but I'm not dropping the rope, right? And ninth, build support before the next fight, not just after this one. And this is where I want to be really honest. If you're constantly fighting because both of you are overloaded, underslept, and trying to run a family with no margin, better communication by itself may not fix it. Sometimes a relationship needs more support, not just better words. And that might mean reworking division of labor, naming the invisible mental load, or creating a better bedtime routine. Maybe even building in a weekly check-in or getting support from outside the relationship. Because overwhelmed couples do not just need insight, right? They need structure. And if hard conversations are an area that you and your partner get stuck, I have a free resource below that can help you start these conversations with less blame and more clarity. So grab that if you need a place to begin, and let me bring this home. Fights are not automatically a sign that your relationship is failing, especially not in the parenting years. The question is not, do we ever fight? The question is, what do we do with the information the fight gives us? Do we use it to blame, withdraw, and build resentment? Or do we get curious about what hurts, what is needed, and how to come back toward each other? You do not have to be fully calm. You do not have to be fully over it. You do not have to force fake peace. But you do need some way to say, we're not okay yet, and I still want connection. I still want repair. I still want us. That is the work. And if this video spoke to you, the next one to watch is how to calm down after a fight when you're still secretly mad. Go watch that next. Because if you know how to calm your body and your thoughts after conflict, reconnecting gets so much easier. And if this resonated with you, subscribe for more support on relationships, parenthood, and staying connected through these hard seasons. And if you want practical tools for hard conversations, grab the free resource below.